questions and would seek your approval tonight.
So this presentation is the outcome of our January 29th meeting, where we discussed at length as a board and guardrails. Are there any outstanding questions?
Just a comment, I would just encourage us to, as we, hopefully approve these and then continue to communicate about them, to be much more explicit and put it more in layperson's terminology so we can go out to the community, and explain things in pretty understandable terms, street jargon. Because it's crucial that we're able to do just that, to communicate them and what they mean, what the academic readiness measure means, how it's being measured, all those sorts of things are, I think, super, super important. But the goals, I think we've got to a good spot, so thanks.
And I think when we have the interim goals on all of these, you will see a lot of clarity coming to that with the interim as well.
Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Holder, a quick question. We had our meeting to talk through these before the Harvard study came out. We were able to see just how well our students are progressing. So I just want to ask you, as we look at these goals, with the knowledge that our students are growing and progressing, do you see these goals forward-reaching and pushing us to continue growth, or are they something that may need to be tweaked to make sure that we're not getting in the way of growth that's already happening?
No, I think these fit it with exactly what we're doing. I will tell you this, I will be ecstatic in 2030 when 83% of our students are in the top 50th percentile and or meeting their expected growth, 73% in math. We do that, we will see incredible gains when it comes to any indicator that you are looking at with how we're doing. I believe we're well on the way to that as well. So I was happy to see that. I think that's just scratching the surface. We have the plan in place. But I think these are good steps.
So we are here at a JCPS school board meeting, and one of the victims that have been assaulted by teachers is going to be speaking in a little bit.
Community meetings I had, the community was very interested in knowing exactly what our seniors are leaving high school knowing what to do. And so I know there's a lot that's going to be built into that academic readiness, so making sure that we're very clear about that as well. So I appreciate it. Good work.
Thank you. And you will see, especially on the 12th grade, it is the easiest for us to parcel out because there is a state measurement for what we used to call career readiness and college readiness. But with the post-secondary, so now we can really bring to you goals that look at academic indicators, plus those things like certifications, college credit hours, AP courses, things like that.
They probably think I'm going to start trouble.
Leaving us with a diploma plus something else.
Okay. Anyone? All right. Is there a motion to approve the draft student outcomes focus governance goals and guardrails? Mr. Marshall? Ms. Thompson? All in favor? All opposed? There are none. Thank you. There are persons requesting to address the board. We have our new nifty video prepared. We know who.
In accordance with Board Policy 01.421, the board expects that persons who have signed up to address the board will limit their remarks to the subjects that they listed at the time they signed up, that their presentation will not include any defamatory or abusive remarks about the subject, and that they will present the remarks in a manner that is consistent with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Also, in accordance with board policy, the board reserves the right to limit, extend, or terminate discussion on any subject. Discussion of personnel matters is not permitted, as state law requires that personnel matters are within the sole authority of the superintendent. The speaker may not initiate charges or complaints against an individual district employee by name or position in order to ensure confidentiality and fairness for the employee. Speakers before the entire board are not allowed to use props, displays, or any other objects during their remarks. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the board and may not share these minutes with any other speaker. At the end of 2.5 minutes, a bell will sound once. You will then have 30 seconds to finish your statement. At the end of 3 minutes,
That's why we're
the bell
here.
will sound twice, indicating that your time is up. The superintendent will look into the speaker's issues and, if necessary, represent the board in following up or recommend action to the
I don't know
board.
if they'll let us.
The full board policy concerning public participation in open meetings is available for viewing on our website and at our sign-in sheet.
All right, thank you. We have 4 students who have requested to speak. None of the speakers who have signed up tonight are speaking on agenda items. But we're going to permit our students to speak at this point because we know we have homework to do and other things to get into. We'll continue with our business meeting and allow the other speakers to speak at the end of the meeting. Gregory Collins.
Hi, my name is Gregory Collins. I'm an 11th grade student at WEB Du Bois Academy, and I'm here to talk about transportation for magnet school students. Essentially, the removal of transportation for magnet school students would see being disadvantageous as one of the strongest issues would be low-income students who are unable to access stable means of transportation will not be allowed the privilege of choosing their educational institution. Commonly, low-income magnet school students have strong desires to receive their education, but wield the burden of having lack of accessibility to resources as they have to support themselves and their families. Some may argue that by removing magnet school transportation, it will allow a chance for the transportation system to recover due to the shortage of bus drivers and will provide a solution to the regained stability. However, by removing the transportation of over 20,000 magnet school students, many may have no other choice but to transfer into their residual option for education, which will not only increase student population within those schools, but also increase their
I'll move closer when our girl speaks, but I can't go up.
unsophisticated environment to arise. There are over 20,000 magnet school students that will be left with no transportation and will have to either give up their educational regimen they are used to and find a way to get transportation for themselves. For low-income families specifically, the possibility of providing transportation for their magnet students would be substantially low, filling the educational gap between social classes. As they are already put at a disadvantage for secondary education, removing the form of transportation will not only affect this, but also their ability to be successful to their fullest potential in post-secondary education. Many will have their opportunities to gain a specific education will have it taken away from them. Undoubtedly, it will not only leave them trapped within a lower level of society and keep access to a better life just outside of their grasp. And lastly, it will not only it would also take away the sense of community and comfort students have created during their life at that institution. Thank you, that is all.
Josiah Burton.
Good evening. My name is Josiah Burton. I'm an 11th grade at Boyd Academy. I've come here today in hopes to persuade you not to regress JCPS by 50 years because eliminated busing for magnet and alternative schools would do just that. In JCPS, diversity is one of its biggest qualities. I go to school with black people, white people, rich people, and poor people. It always has. And your proposal breaks all of that. If you decide to cut busing for magnet schools, it will resegregate the entire district. What are you thinking? How in the world would that happen? I'm going to tell you why. A percentage of magnets in alternative schools are low-income students who reside in low-income neighborhoods. And if you force them to go to their home schools, just because they can't find a ride to school, you'll be forcing these low-income students into low-income schools that will never be able to catch up with their magnet curriculum, whilst the high-income students who most likely can afford to drive themselves to schools get their high-quality education and access to programs that will set them up for life. So I beg you not to go through with this for the sake of thousands of futures that hang in the balance of one decision. Thank you.
Yes.
Louis Chavez Moore.
Good evening, board. My name is Luis Chavez Mora. Former student at St. Xavier High School. Here early October in hopes of finding a new home. Unfortunately, I had some issues due to my weight, and so from there I didn't feel comfortable and I wanted to find a new home. While searching for many schools, I landed on WVU Du Bois. This school provided a sense of home. Although I didn't know if this is where I wanted to reside, I came in with a counselor and he showed me the ropes. I love the school and I had many choices, but I decided to go to WVU Du Bois. I personally live 20 minutes from the school, so I do use the transportation, and so do many others. And I know that there are simple decisions that can be made, but for us, it's really a big change. I'm not here to just talk about myself, but just also advocate for my friends. While in the course of 5 months, I have been able to find myself coming from a deep hole out and just being able to express myself again. I love smiling, being kind to others, and at this school I can do just that. As of recent, I won Homecoming King, something unexpected, I'm not gonna lie. But just another representation of how their reflection of like me can also be reflected upon myself. So I just hope that you guys can reconsider everything, not go forward just out of spite. And thank you everyone for doing such a great job. I know y'all are doing your best, and of course as a student I'm doing my best as well. Thank you. Have an amazing night, y'all, and just take care. God bless.
Yes. You did a good job.
Nehemiah Clements. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Nehemiah Clements, and I attend WVU Du Bois High School. The reason I'm speaking today is my concerns about JCPS suggesting not providing transportation for magnet and traditional schools next year. The biggest problem is the diversity in magnet schools being torn apart. Diversity is one of the most revolutionary things that have affected learning. My personal experience being a student attending a magnet school has shaped me for the things my personal homeschool wouldn't have been able to prepare me for. It's given me an understanding that no matter your gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, race, religion, etc., you're capable of learning from and teaching one another. There are many things to learn every day that a non-diverse environment cannot provide students. I have many friends and acquaintances that have attended public, private, and magnet schools. The main claim I've heard coming from transfers out of private to a magnet is that they've never felt a sense of belonging, as you all heard on previous. As much as those who attend a magnet school. Other conversations I've had were with students who transfer out of magnet schools expressing how they miss attending their magnets and regret leaving because of the lack of acceptance, brotherhood, sisterhood, sense of belonging, and self-expression such as the freedom of wearing your hair in its natural state, one's sexuality, even vernacular. Next year, I will be in the 12th grade, and the thought of having to go to my home school because I may not have transportation to the school I've been attending since the 6th grade makes me anxious and slightly grieves me. As decision makers and pillars of our community, please use your influence to advocate for transportation for all students in Jefferson County. We may not have the power to change legislation, but I hope that the voice of the youth in our community truly makes a difference. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job.
Tell them to go do their homework now. Come on. Great job, guys. Nice job. You say if you want. I'm just kidding.
They did a great job now. Hopefully you guys will listen.
Alex, Councilman Gonzalez. Now we'll turn it over to Dr. Foley to give us our transportation.
Thank you, Chair and board members. At this time, we wanted to give a transportation update. I believe this is the second one that we've had in recent months. To talk about the developments in our work and how we would like to respond to driver shortage. First off, I have to say this, and I know Rob's going to do this. I think, Rob, your whole team's in that front row, is that correct? Yes. So I'd like to recognize the transportation team. I know it's been a long year, and they have, I can't imagine how many long days you guys have put in, but you work tirelessly to make sure that every kid gets to school, gets home, and I know it's been hard work. So thank you all for your very much hard work throughout the year. I appreciate you. Also, I wanted to say, obviously, we're working hard on both sides of the, well, the one side of the coin, which is getting more drivers. The other side of the coin is how many routes we have. Our goal tonight is not to make any recommendations to you. We are not here to say we're making any recommendation. We would still say it's probably going to be 4 or 5 weeks from now until we bring you an official recommendation for your vote. This is a part of the process, and we will continue to have conversations with you about how we move forward. One thing we do want to do today is to make sure that we give you once again the picture of reality of what's happening. We want it to be that you see times, you see numbers, you see drivers and routes. We also know that all 3 of the options we present tonight will have unintended consequences, good and bad things to it. There is no doubt about it. What we want you to know is to be fully aware of what those pros and cons are of each one of them, and know that, once again, we are working on about 55% of the drivers we had 10 years ago, and it is not something that we cannot continue the same way, which one of the options is to continue the same way and expect students to get to school on time and get home on time. And so we just have to know going into this. I said in an interview before, being more candid last year coming into this, if we had kept the same number of bus drivers, we would be where we need to be now. But unfortunately, we have not done that from last year. We are also recruiting extremely hard, which you will hear about that today, the extreme hard work of really HR and communications and operations all together to really try to get as many as we possibly can. So that's the point of our conversation this evening. I will turn it over to Dr. Folk. He will start this and walk us through our transportation presentation.
Good evening, Board of Education. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize a couple people who have been working on this solution tirelessly since the beginning of the school year, especially over the last couple of months. Marcus Dobbs, our Executive Administrator over Transportation, Robert Newton, and Ken Stites, Transportation Specialist, Mark Wilkins and Austin Lands, GIS Specialist, Brent West, who is currently not with us tonight, but has been instrumental in bringing this, the outline that we're going to bring you tonight. Matt Anderson, our Assistant Superintendent of Culture and Climate, who's been tackling our work with the compounds, and we have two of our compound coordinators with you here tonight, Joe Bell and Jana Martin, and our EA over operations, Tyler Sharon. I just want to recognize the amount of hard work that they have put into this. This is a very complex issue with very many variables. And what we're going to bring to you tonight really is we want to start with the goal. The goal is that we need to be in a position that our daily routes do not exceed our daily drivers available. If we are in a situation where our daily routes exceed our daily drivers available, then this is what causes delays to and from school, which is why we are seeing the delays this year. Currently, we begin every day on average 59 drivers less than the routes that we have currently routed in the system. Our current clear time is an average of 7:03 p.m. That means last bus is dropped off with a goal of 6:30, given our current driver shortage. Our goal for the 24-25 year would be a 6 p.m. clear time. By 6:36, we usually are down to 1 to 5 buses left to clear in compound. This issue has grown steadily since 2013-14, was exacerbated by COVID, and has come to a head as we are part of a national driver shortage that we are seeing with every single large urban district and small and rural districts that we speak to. Where we stand right now is 556 drivers with 563 routes. 52 drivers are absent daily, that's our average days at the end of January, which gives us 504 available drivers daily to drive routes. This puts us down 59 routes uncovered daily. In 2024, our projection based off of previous year's attrition is that we will start the year on July 1st with 526 drivers. If we figure in an average daily absence of 52, this will give us 474 drivers that will be available on a daily basis. The goal is then, we would want to have 474 or less routes, so that we are on the right side of that math problem. Problem is, our routes, daily routes exceed our daily drivers available. This causes our delays. To solve this problem, we really have two solutions. The first one is recruit and retain more drivers. The second one is change our service delivery model to an understanding that daily routes cannot exceed daily available drivers. For the first solution to the problem, recruiting and retaining more drivers, will give you an idea of what we've been doing, where we stand, both locally and nationally in the public and the private sector. And none of that recruitment and retention effort stops. That continues on. It's not something that we say, well, we're going to stop recruiting drivers today. But we have to be realistic about what our trend data tells us and what it has told us since 2013. Our driver compensation right now stands on average at about $55,200 a year. Our end pay is well over $100,000. We are ranked in the top of the nation scholastically in terms of bus driver compensation. Starting drivers start around 23 an hour. They can make up to 36 an hour with our various incentives that we have put in place over the last couple of years. We have 190 drivers that have been with us more than 13 years. They can earn up to $44 an hour with incentives, and we have 7 bus drivers that have earned more than $75,000 last year. We will well exceed that this year. In comparison to other districts, both locally and nationally, you can see, and you've seen this in your one-on-one meetings with operations, where we stand. There are relatively no districts that can touch us in terms of bus driver compensation. When I meet with other COOs of other districts, large urban districts, small districts, rural districts, suburban districts, they are disheartened because they find out what we pay and we have the same issues that they do, because that is their next step. Often we are asked, well, where do you compare it to the private sector? This is perhaps the only job in JCPS that we pay more than the comparable private sector. If you look at the chart up there, just locally in Louisville, CDL-Bs, we do not pay more than UPS CDL-A, which is the over-the-road trucker. But when you look at package delivery driver, we do. When we compare ourselves to other transportation industries in the city of Louisville, our pay is better. Our driver attrition for this year, I'm sorry they didn't pad it in correctly up there. We have 102 total separations from drivers. That's 96 if you remove the 6 that became sub-drivers instead of full-time, which means a total of 78 folks separated from the district, because 24 of that 96 took a job within JCPS that is another job besides a bus driver, school security monitor, one became a teacher, various other roles in JCPS. We've had 42 resignations, 36 once you remove our subs. We have hired 68 people, and this is all from 7/1 to 2/13, so today. Our net gain loss over the year is we've lost 34 drivers, 28 if counting the subs that we've kept. Our total employee gain loss is 4. Oftentimes we are told
Mic drop,
the
D.
reasons why people are resigning from the job. So we have called every single person who has resigned this year and asked them post-separation 2 questions. Why did you quit, and what would it take to get you back? I think what must be prefaced with this data up there, these folks owe us nothing. They've already separated from the what we see is 7 of them cited the length of routes, 7 cited personal reasons, including medical and family reasons, 6 self-promoted to a sub-driver, 6 took a job outside of JCPS that was in the same field of transportation. We separated with 5 that were termination or resignation in lieu of termination. 4 moved either further out in state or out of state. 3 cited student discipline specifically. 3 cited job dissatisfaction, bus not air conditioned. didn't want to wake up too early. The hours are very, very tough. And in too many hours, and we had one that did rescind their resignation. I'll turn it over to Dr. Greenweb and Ms. Callahan to talk about recruitment.
So as Dr. Fultz said, our recruitment never stops. We have just our standard recruitment process of recruiting throughout the city. We actually do have some staff members who are able to attract folks from out of state as well. So we never stop. What you see in front of you is just a list of kind of the cadence of recruitment that has taken place. That first one on the list was a bus driver job fair, like the one we did Saturday, but it's CD9. And then when you take advantage of opportunities on a regular basis, such as the Kentucky Career Center or what was formerly known as the Unemployment Office, just having regular presence and the ability to talk with people in places like that. We've also put on other job fairs, some targeted to bus drivers. We've always recruited 4 bus drivers regardless of the type of job fair taking place. So you see a list of places throughout the city and engaging with city partners to connect with folks looking for jobs and recruiting specifically for drivers. This spring, we have the Blitz on Saturday. I think Dr. Fultz is going to share some data from that, and then some future planned events. We will have 2 more Blitz opportunities where we specifically market, target, and pull in drivers who are interested in taking through the hiring process.
And when it comes to the recruitment outreach process, communications and marketing are really important. When it comes to recruiting bus drivers, we have a wide range of folks who we're trying to target. It's just not one specific group. You could be 21 or older, and we want to get to you. So we have to use many different and multifaceted approach to contact everyone that we want to contact. What we are doing is, one, these bus driver hiring blitzes that I know Dr. Fultz will talk a little bit more about. We had folks waiting in line at 8:30 in the morning when we didn't open until 9, who were coming. They were excited. They said we had about 170 folks who showed up to apply to be bus drivers at this event on Saturday with very little advertising and promotion because we put it together so quickly. We are also getting media support. Our recruitment efforts have been bolstered by media support throughout various platforms. We're using television, radio, digital channels. We're even in the movie theaters. When you go and watch a movie, you'll see our promo asking for bus drivers, telling you how to apply and recruiting you before you watch your movie. And we strategically place these advertisements in high traffic areas to ensure maximum exposure and visibility for the recruitment campaign.
I want to scream out, but I have to wait until our girl starts speaking.
Data-driven digital marketing campaigns. We are able to reach so many people this way, and we can target specific demographics. We can target folks who we know work at Ford or work at UPS or work in areas where we know that their skill set matches what we are looking for. So we can send them a very targeted approach that generates leads from individuals who are going to be likely to want to join our team. We have updated our website. We now have jcpsbusdriver.com. It's an easy way to remember, so we don't have to tell people, go to jefferson.kyschools.us/busdriver.
And anybody that knows me, patience is not my thing, but gotta do what we gotta do.
There's a link to apply for the job. You can learn more about what it takes to be a bus driver and why bus drivers love being bus drivers. In the very near future, you are going to see JCPS bus drivers. Yes, our real bus drivers. Their faces are going to be on TARC buses. And they're going to be recruiting drivers throughout the city. That's a year-long advertising campaign that we're working with TARC on, encouraging folks to apply to be JCPS bus drivers. We'll also see billboards popping up, more advertisements on TV, throughout radio, mailers being delivered to homes, and we're being very strategic about where we are sending all of that information. We're also going to be doing more strategic work with our community partners, asking them. They have a lot of contact with our families and with other people who want to support our students and do what's best for kids. So they're going to be handing out information for us as well. So this approach to bus driver recruitment, it incorporates a blend of traditional advertising and innovative strategies to effectively communicate our opportunities, and we are already seeing that success working in the turnout that we are having.
The event that we held this Saturday had 172 folks sign in, 97 submitted an application, 79 were fingerprinted or made appointments to be fingerprinted, and 90 new hire packages were completed before we were ready to hire. That's positive, does not solve the problem, and I want to make that clear. We have to continue to do this and continue to do this well. As we move into more of the metrics, one thing that I do want to be crystal clear about is it has been asked, start times. Our current system, if we were on 2 start times, would require 800 to 825 drivers. As a reminder, we have 555 drivers. In 24-25, depending on which option we may decide to go with, we would need between 700 and 825 drivers to facilitate 2 start times. 2 start times is not an option with our current number of drivers. Preparations that we're making for 24-25, we are currently advertising the routing team that the board approved in January and compound support staff. I'm pleased to report to you that 3 of the 6 positions on the routing team we've been made offers on, or will be making offers on in the next 2 to 3 days. So we will have that team in place ahead of schedule. We will be recommending a pause period near to the end of the summer, where we would pause most general routing in the district so that our drivers have ample time to be able to practice their routes, set in stone. This is practice that is common in most large districts throughout the nation. Bus Finder, as we have discussed before, that tool will be utilized more internally, less than at the school level, take that burden from schools so that our routing team plans the stops, assures there are the safe stops within the state criteria, and then make sure that all the students have stops. Our bus referral is disciplinary support, the changes we've made there this year that will continue with the Office of Culture and Climate next year, and we'll continue to fine tune that. We have no desire to change our compensation or recruitment strategies. We'll continue to do the things that we're doing to get folks in. All of our buses currently right now, through the various contracts and partners that we work with, are getting turn-by-turn navigation, improved cameras and GPS. That will be on our entire fleet for 24-25. Obviously, what we're talking about now is service delivery change. We will give you a couple of options for that, and then we are in the midst of our transportation RFP and RFI, and we are awaiting the assessment results from the first round of the prismatic assessment on transportation. Preparing for 24-25, the target is we need 474 routes to start with 526 drivers. At various times over the last couple of months, we brought updates to you with things that we are exploring. Among these things, to get to the target of 474 routes, the first one is to eliminate all magnet and traditional transportation and bus reside students, 85, McKinney-Vento, and special education students is called for in their IEP. This will get us into an estimated route range based off of the modeling by our GIS team and our transportation folks over the past couple of months to around 468, 478 routes. If we were to eliminate all magnet and traditional transportation but allow in-network transportation, that would get us to about 493 to 503. If we were to only transport free and reduced lunch magnet students, that impact would not be very significant and would put us at 533 to 543 routes, as well as maybe very problematic in terms of the identification of students. We have investigated hubs, 5 hubs, and we will go in depth with this as we go into the presentation. But at the top level view, 5 hubs would get us to 528, 538, with a host of other issues that are unresolved. 3 hubs gets us to about 508, 518, with a host of other issues that are unresolved. We have discussed in the past about eliminating grandfathering from the prior student assignment plan. We've found that that will not have a very large impact overall in terms of cutting routes. It's not feasible, and that would go against the decision the board made to continue that as part of the student assignment plan. We had discussed briefly a lottery option for magnet and traditional. There's a host of reasons that we've uncovered that will not cut the routes we need, nor will it necessarily work. So the various options and models we bring you tonight. I'll direct you to this chart where we stand today with 563 routes with 555 drivers. It means 503 daily available drivers. If we were to be on time this year, it would require 60 additional drivers. Our clear time in this scenario today is 7:04. If we were to look at option 1, busing reside students, 85 McKinney-Vento special education students is called for in their IEP. That would put us at the right side of drivers versus routes available, drivers available versus routes, which would be a clear time to 6 o'clock. 5 hub option would put us around 52 to 62 drivers less off projection for next year at 526, which would put us in a very similar scenario that we're in right now, which would be a clear time of approximately 7 o'clock. A 3 hub option would take about 15 minutes off of that. If we do nothing, we will project that our clear times will be somewhere between 7:30 and 7:45, as we will be down roughly 90 drivers off projection. Option 1, reside only. We would provide transportation only to reside. McKinney Vincent, Lady 5 special education students within their IEP. There are several opportunities and challenges that this option would give the board. Opportunities include, this is the only option that we've found that places us in a position that our routes are less than our daily available drivers. It's the only option we've ascertained that will facilitate on-time service with fewer routes, and this minimizes lost instructional time across the district. Challenges, this is our best estimate. We do not have a way to estimate the number of magnet and traditional students who will return to reside. We can model various percentages, we can model various scenarios, but at the end of the day, we cannot predict that. This will require rebalancing start times for schools, as we have a majority of magnet schools currently in the 7:40 start time. And I want to be clear what rebalancing means. That does not mean changing, that means moving schools to different start times, because the preponderance of start times for magnet and traditional is now at 7:40 and all of those spots open. We need to balance the 3 main start times so that they're all balanced with buses and schools.
One of the victims will be speaking tonight.
We may need to look at adjusting boundary lines. Another challenge here, obviously, is that it will reduce equitable access to magnet and traditional schools. Comparable districts, when we look at what do other districts in our situation do. This is a list of districts that traditionally we've compared ourselves to in various assessments and various audits. And you will see
She's working on her speech.
bus, magnet, or choice students. The exceptions on this list of all county and Clark County Nevada, the bus, magnet, choice within their reside, because that's the way their district is structured. In Clark County, Nevada, they will have various types of magnet schools all throughout the city. That is not necessarily the arrangement we have in Jefferson County. Second option is a hub model. We have been asked to investigate this, and essentially what that would be is hub locations for parents to drop off, pick up students for direct run and magnet traditional busing. We've modeled between 3 and 5 and 10 hub locations. A couple of things to keep in mind with this model. In this model, we estimate between 1,800 and 3,400 eligible students per site. That's 1,800 to 3,400 cars per site. In this model, there's a host of unresolved challenges, and it does not reduce our routes to the point where we have opportunities with the hub model if located on JCPS sites. We own the space, we determine its use. We already have staff on school for potential supervision. Current campus safety plans for things like inclement weather, heightened security can be put in place, and it will reduce inequitable access to magnet and traditional schools. The challenges, each hub will have approximately 1,800 to 3,400 students eligible and will significantly impact traffic flow in and around these already busy sites if they're on a JCPS property. And finding geographic locations to accommodate this volume is challenging. We do not currently have sites at hand to facilitate this volume of car riders on a daily basis, twice, both morning and afternoon. This adds additional strain to tax staff, campuses, plus contract issues for extended work hours and the responsibility for supervision, safety, and security. The hours of operation of these would have to occur over top of when the homeschool is in session, regardless of what start time is utilized. And there's the potential to be late without significant driver increase, which will result in lost instructional minutes. So naturally, the next question is, well, what if we located them off JCPS sites? There are some opportunities here. This would allow access to various parts of the city outside of JCPS campuses. This wouldn't impact any specific JCPS campus while school's in session. Potentially, we can find some sites that are more centrally located to be used by parents and guardians, and it will reduce inequitable access to magnet and traditional schools. There are some significant challenges with this. Each hub will have approximately 1,800 to 3,400 car riders that will be eligible to drop students off there, and will impact traffic around whatever those sites are. Finding a geographic location to accommodate this volume is challenging, because this will require partnership with something in the private or maybe public sector that can accommodate that level of traffic. There's the potential that if we did enter a partnership, the partnership with a private entity could opt out next month or next year, leaving us in a very unadvantageous position. Contract lease MOA would need to be developed and agreed to very quickly. We would need to figure out the additional supervision and security that would have to commute to those sites twice daily. And there is the potential to be late without a significant driver increase, which will result in lost instructional minutes. In summer, hubs, these are locations that would need to accommodate 1,800 to 3,400 eligible students, and that would be challenging to find. More hubs do not equal fewer buses. More hubs will increase the number of routes daily, which will reduce the level of savings. The reason for this is we may not be going into the neighborhood for direct runs, but we will still be going to multiple hub sites. Supervision, inclement weather, and traffic patterns are all major challenges of hubs. The model with the most savings places us in an estimated route range of 508 to 518, with projected drivers available of 474. This will result in 645 clear time, which will result in continued similar loss of instructional minutes. Our third option is do nothing. We take no action and we continue with our current system without modification. The opportunities that doing this presents is we will continue providing transportation for all groups as we currently do now. The challenges and issues with this, our clear times will be in excess of 7:30 on average, and lost instructional time will be increased. We will continue to arrive late and leave late, and the current system will be significantly slower with less projected drivers. I'll reference back to the model table so that you can reference the various numbers and where we predict what clear times will be based off of various options. Board decision, when you decide to vote on it, the options that we have presented, one would be that we would transport Reside, McKinney-Vento, ECD, and A5 school students. We commit to having less routes than drivers available, which will translate to on-time service for all Reside students. It's the only solution that Operations Division has found that will reduce routes below daily available drivers. Clear time goal 6-6-15. Option two, we create magnet traditional hubs, which will place us in the same position we are in this year with more routes than drivers, and we will be late daily. Our clear time will be similar to this year, 6:45 to 7. Option three, we do nothing, which will place us in a worse position, less drivers grandfather routes than there are this year. We will have more routes than drivers, we will be late daily in excess of our lateness this year. Our clear time will be approximately 7:15 to 7:30. The numbers that I have presented to you and the models that I have presented to you is the best work that this team and our group can put together. And I want to be clear that we are conservative in our estimates. And we have based this solely off the data that we have worked with and the data that we have created within the department. We have analyzed trends since 2013. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation. Once again, we'll continue to work on both sides of the coin. We're happy to take questions or feedback that you have at this time. And once again, this is one more step in the process before we bring you a proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Folk, and your team for that presentation. You know that you all working around the clock, very hard this year. So that's really that transportation right now. Mr. Marshall,
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to this transportation team for all your hard work. It is very difficult because none of us want to be taking anything away from students. But, you know, we are looking forward to how we can best deliver students to their schools on time and safely. I really have one question. Have we discussed, I know House Bill 447 would allow us to utilize district-owned vehicles to transport students. Have we discussed that and what impact that might have and what opportunities that might present?
Sure. So there is positive impact if that bill becomes law. There's a couple things that need to be well understood about that, though. While we do have a decent sized white fleet currently, many of that white fleet is earmarked specifically from the McKinney-Vento students or special education students. We have on order many other white fleets for general education. However, nationally, we are between 18 to 36 months out on the production of the passenger vans that we will be able to buy. Every other district has the same, inkling desire to buy more white fleet as we do.
Now, what's the current timeline from interview application to keys in hand? What's that timeline look like?
So one of the things that I do like to remind folks about when we hire a bus driver is this is a pretty complex hire. There's the interview, there's background check, of course, all the normal things, but there's also the drug screen. There is the DOT card, being able to go through class, having to have the physical, so there are multiple steps. This takes anywhere 3 to 4 weeks, and our training staff is excellent. They have high pass rate, they do a good job with our folks, but there are a lot of touchstones in the point to hire a bus driver.
If I could add on your first question, like at our hiring blitz this weekend, we had a large number of limited English-speaking people who wanted to apply. Unfortunately, the CDL test is only in English by law. There is no opportunity for it not to be in English, so we are working with those folks as well. But being a van driver is a possibility of we can shift them into that area because they do not have to have a CDL because it's 12 or less. But we had a number of translators that at the event this past week that were really meeting folks and helping them out, but that continues to be a concern.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. That's all the questions I have.
We're only being good because we're waiting on somebody to speak. One of our victims is going to speak.
If I run out of time, then I can.
So you never know what's going to happen.
One of the things that I keep thinking about, of course, we have the numbers of drivers versus the number of routes. And I do remember that when we had 2 start times, we also had drivers who drove more than 1 route. So we still have drivers who can drive more than 1 route.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that allows, I know folks running the second run in our previous plan, so I know they don't have to be exactly equal like that. Do we have an idea about how many students total are in our Magnet International School that we are busing? How many are in? Do we have that number?
Approximately 16,000.
Well, I also know we have parent families that choose A5 schools. Not all the A5 schools are our schools like that, but we do have families that choose that. And I hope in whatever we decide, we can consider how we can reduce drivers to our A5 schools because they draw kids from all the families. They also contribute our system. When we had 2 starts, we had 750 drivers. If we reduced the number of kids being driven now by 16,000, let's say we reduce that by 16,000.
I want to make one very important clarification. We will not reduce the number of kids transported by 16,000 because very many of those will determine that their reside schools, the schools that they want to attend, and we are guaranteeing on-time transportation for reside students. So whoever decides to return to a reside school, they would be a bus rider.
If we do reach a point where we can reduce our riders, where we are about equal with our riders and our routes, is there another reason why we can't do 2 start times?
Ms. Duncan, most of my time and energy and our team's time and energy has been spent on what we need to do to be able to get within drivers and routes, and we have spent very little focusing on start times this year.
I'm just talking about sheer numbers of if we can do that, if they match up, is there a reason why we can't do that? And that's just a question. Coming to this next year, we've got to have some assurances for our staff and for students and for our parents. So the rest of my questions have to do with those assurances. One thing that, and I've talked to lots of people to arrive at these questions, but I just want to know if we can give kind of yes or no answers on these. If they need to be explained, we can do that too, but, can schools be assured that we will have, regular updates put into different campuses so that our schools have bus stops, up-to-date bus stops to tell students,
Yes.
right? Can we assure parents that every student who's in a resides area will have an opportunity to have a bus in that resides area?
Yes.
And you talked about the vans and the possible use of vans for ECE students that have transportation written into that. Could the use of vans be an option for ECE students who are suspended for regular transportation?
I think that would be a determination of whatever disciplination community would be over that from the transportation standpoint. If we are able to transport a student, we will.
Well, you've mentioned grandfathering, and that is sort of off the table because it's not really going to have that big an impact, so I won't ask that question about it. Can we consider using community centers as bus stops?
We currently utilize most of the Boys and Girls Centers throughout the city, and we have other sites that we do as well. We continue to reevaluate where we locate our bus stops, so that, of course, we can use community centers. We have for a long time.
I had people suggest that who are dealing with these things, they weren't doing, and maybe they're not aware of that. Will we continue to fund guest cards for our early childhood transportation?
I think that's something, we're gonna have to review the effectiveness of it. Our plan, yes, if we consider it to be effective at the conclusion, then we would continue that.
Or if it's not, we're 5 minutes, we're gonna start you over again, okay?
All right. Do you want me to stop?
No, we need 5 more.
Okay. All right. Will we continue to fund, and I wasn't aware that we did this, but I found this out the other day, gas cards for, Vento students and our multilingual students who have come in and didn't have bus stops. So we continue to fund those.
Yes, Ms. Duncan.
Under a plan that does not transport magnet for traditional schools, will we consider using our funding, that transportation for parents or with families by the use of stipends? Will we consider?
That's something that we have investigated, but we're not ready to bring to the board yet.
She's on the agenda, but it's at the end of the meeting. Not the agenda, but she's on the speaking part. She's already on the list, but it's at the end.
That's something.
And they do that because they get a little wild sometimes.
We'll bring an update to you, but at another meeting to approve after we approve the plan.
All right, and then related to that, would we consider doing that for our A5 schools? They're not magnet schools, but would we consider doing that for them so that people could have that option if they want to help us reduce our numbers? Would we consider that?
That is something we can discuss and consider, yes.
Oh, will the district provide extra support for magnet and traditional schools when it comes to traffic flow issues? If we go that route, will we be ready to provide that support for schools because they will have traffic issues?
So that's something that we've been working very proactively on since I came into the role. We have 4 schools right now that we have issued emergency declarations for in terms of traffic remediation and parking lot work. We are bringing a recommendation at the March board meeting as part of our organizational chart changes that we will have specifically a traffic person right now that is part of safety, but we would have someone on payroll that specifically works with traffic patterns and mitigation. As part of the local planning committee that is working with the district's bonding, we have opened up more funding that we looked at potential sources to remediate traffic patterns, and I'm going in front of Metro Council this Thursday to discuss Metro Council traffic in our existing schools and what some impacts and partnerships can be.
Thank you. I'll ask one more and then stop and we can finish this off later. Could shorter, more regionalized routes help us maybe reduce our start times so that we are not at 9 start times? If we do shorter, more regionalized routes, could we possibly go and consider fewer start times?
If we look at shorter, more regional routes, could we do fewer start times? I can't answer that based off of what we looked at. I can tell you this, when we looked at the routing team for next year, one of their primary goals after on-time instruction and bringing students to school and delivering students home on time is that we get our drivers on the smaller routes, because we know that is one of the primary reasons that we've had attrition. And that we look also at the aspect of mirroring as many routes as we can. But what I will say is, for us to be the most efficient, those must not trump being on time.
Well, thank you. I'll pause and pass it on to the next one.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Dr. Cole?
Thank you, and thanks to the team for throughout the year. Could you write to slide 3? Well, sorry, I thought it was still on there, but slide 3 shows, the number of drivers was declining from 2013 on, but we already alluded to slide 3. You'll see that the pandemic, basically, there was a fundamental labor market change that happened in 2020, so that there was a really steep drop that happened around. And in fact, from 2016 to 2020, we've been pretty stable, it looks like, in the number of drivers. And then the pandemic fundamentally reshaped the labor market. So, it would have been impossible to predict what was going to happen. And it presents a huge challenge for the district, I know. Where are we with TARP? Working with TARP to make sure that they have routes?
Yeah, so we have, actually, Dr. DeFerrari is working close with TARP, and so I'd say they have been very receptive, along with the mayor, providing us a plan. This will be a part of our presentation, which our plan right now is to provide any middle school or high school student who would like a TARP pass, that they would be able to use that TARP pass at any time, along with ensuring that every one of our middle and high schools has a stop within the proximity of the school, which we do not have now. So we're working with that. They've been very receptive in working with us, and so we should have a full plan on that, so that all of our students have access to public transportation.
Okay, so that in the comparison chart, a lot of districts that we're comparing say where they don't have transportation because no students must rely on public transportation. I don't know what the quality of public transportation is in all those different cities, but and this is not a shot at TARP, they're doing the best they can with very limited resources, but our TARP system has not been very well funded and leaves a lot to be desired, I can say, as a former bus driver to work. The in-network for like Duval and Clark, where they transported magnets in-network, what does that mean exactly?
So in Clark County, Nevada, the way the school system is structured in comparison to ours, I'll use Manual as an example. They'll have various forms of Manual throughout the city.
Okay, so sort of like our traditional.
Right, like a reside magnet program.
Okay.
And it's just to remind you, we are not the largest district in the world, but like a lot of people, that Clark thousand students. So, I mean, you're talking at least 4x times bigger than we are. And so they have the larger, the little better ability they have to mirror magnets around the city.
Yeah, and somehow they transported only, some pages mixed up here, but a pretty small percentage of students, if I'm remembering correctly, or at least significant. I don't know how they do that. But, yeah, it's a pretty small percentage. So I wonder, well, I mean, maybe, I think we just kind of spoke to this a little bit, and then this is a much larger, beyond this decision, but, if we did focus maybe on a smaller number of different types of magnets and did have them, like that, if that could potentially alleviate, and maybe it might, I don't know, be a good practice for magnets in general, but like I said, that's a larger conversation. We've talked before about, one of the real challenges with hiring is that break in the middle of the day for bus drivers. So every bus driver's schedule is different, of course, depending upon the routes they have and if they do extra, but in general, what is it that's challenging about that break in the middle of the day? How does that really present an inconvenience for bus drivers?
In a traditional bus driver role, there would be a break between the morning run and the afternoon run. Many of our bus drivers now are running early childhood runs, which makes it a complete day with very little to no break. But when we look at the traditional bus driver role, that is one of the less attractive aspects of the job. Early morning, often late in with a break there in the middle.
So they work, how many hours, and then with the break, how many hours does that take up? Like, if they work 8 hours, where their total day lasts like 11 or 12 hours, but the break in the middle?
Yes, it could. But we do now hire both, part-time drivers that will do a morning run or afternoon run. Always have sub-drivers that will go in different spots.
Okay. I'll take my extra. Well, just to clarify, so 85 schools, we will continue to transport under option, right?
Yes.
So that includes the boys and Great Springs, 35, right?
35 schools.
Is there any, obviously, the best case scenario is that, well, I won't say that, but is there anything we can do to mitigate the issue with non-native English speakers? I spend a lot of time at Home Depot, like everything's in Spanish, you would think that we would want to, as a system and as a state, do everything we can to allow people to work that want to work, especially in much needed jobs. But is there any way around that, or would it require legal change, or can we, I don't know, let people in language in some way? Or?
Yeah, I pushed that one hard with general counsel, but he assured me that is federal law, and even cited
Federal law, okay.
And so we are letting our federal legislators, our senators and House of Representative members know that this is something that we think needs to be addressed at the federal law level.
Okay, yeah.
And I will add, for current applicants, we do offer them adult education. We try to work with them, do everything that we can to get them to the point where we can get them to the CDL.
Okay. And then just a plug for, it's a challenging job to be sure, but the pay is decent, you get great benefits, you get in a pension, you mostly only work on school days, so, there's a lot of advantages to the job as well, and, keep communications and HR getting out there and doing great work, and hopefully we'll be able to hire a bunch of people, and it won't be as dire a situation as we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. Ms. Brown.
Well, Dr. Pope asked a great deal of my questions, especially about the white fleet, is that what it's called, the vans?
Yes.
But in the truck scenario, have we looked at actually subcontracting with TARP, rather than just passes. And my reason for asking that is that it would be dedicated just to JCPS students at the times they need to be. And that would be for safety concerns as well as availability.
To my knowledge, I don't think we've discussed that with them. They are short drivers as well, and said they are unable to do that. We subcontract with Miller Bus, so Miller does continue to provide us 22 routes a day. And so we'll continue to do that, but not, TARP said they were unable to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Mrs. Williams.
I know we're not going to talk about start times, first of all, but I have to reiterate on behalf of the family in East especially going north and Middletown Elementary, significant opposition to any elementary school start time that starts after 9 a.m. I have to repeat that every time I have this conversation. Not good for kids, not good for families, and when we can get to an operations position that allows us to change those.
Did y'all hear that racist shit they said?
That's not a question for us. Can you just briefly summarize again one more time why 474 is the magic number, Rob?
We predict that we will begin the year on.
He's talking about for the Spanish kids and shit, and the guy goes, well, I go to Home Depot all the time. Everything's Spanish. Like, what the fuck?
Right now, essentially, we believe we will lose 29 more for that time.
And the spread is anticipated outages per day, and so 474 routes.
Correct. That's, under this, that's 52 out per day is what we are assuming.
If option 1 is presented at our next meeting, and if it is approved, how many schools will not have transportation being delivered to them?
All Magnet and traditional schools.
Can you give me a number, please? Because sorry, I don't know that number.
Off the top of my head, I think it was a team.
We'll get that for you just a second. So we'll have that for you before we end the presentation.
At some point, just absolute clarity with names of the schools so that there's no confusion right now as people are making decisions about next year. Which specific schools? I know Magnet traditionals, which schools come to mind. I know there are specific categories, but let's just throw that into the presentation, please. For those schools, the 18 to 20 or whatever that number is, how does their start time get recalibrated? I think it's the verb that you used in your presentation, or?
So there's two main factors that would go into that for a Magnet traditional school under option 1 for next year. The first factor is the number of special education buses or McKinney-Vento buses that go to the school. That would have to be part of the conversation with the overall routing. And then the second one is with the school community, the principal and leadership there, what would be their optimal choice for a start time. And then taking into account what the traffic pattern would look like, maybe with contiguous campuses or what.
The question that comes up a lot is for those Magnet traditionals that are on campuses like Hill and Manual, families are hoping to avoid times that are not, so if I've got a 7th grader at Mill and a 10th grader at Manual, they can be close in time instead of having to make 2 trips down there twice a day.
That would all be part of the consideration, yeah. We would need to look at traffic patterns mainly for them.
Okay. The 16,000 student number or something question just raises a concern of mine. If 8,000 of those end up in Rosetta School and then end up continuing to receive transportation, or 12,000 or whatever the number is, if that doesn't alleviate the pressure on the system and actually get us to 474 routes, or is it possible that we're just going to have removed access without having solved the problem when we come back to evaluate the effectiveness of the proposal in September or October?
That is an excellent question. Our team has built a map that 50% would go back. I do not think, as an educator, that will be the case, but as I said, we've been very conservative in the way we have modeled this. So we have built a routing structure off 50%.
Okay. It's an operations challenge, and the only thing I think a board member can do is make sure that you've done your due diligence, and then, make sure that we're doing the best by all students affected. Just really quickly, I've got a text from one of the teachers at Eastern High School, who expressed his frustration that, you know, they have English language learners at Eastern who are within 2 to 3 miles of the school who cannot get there on time right now because other schools are receiving transportation. You know, students further away from the schools, and we are in a position where we have to rank to receive services, and it does seem to me that focusing on insurance.
They have tons of lawsuits, believe it or not.
Transportation is the most equitable solution, so I see where we are going in March, so long as we've done everything that we can to process the questions. But thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. Thank you again, Dr. Polk, for this presentation. I have a few questions. Have options 1 and 2 been reached?
Not by my department, no.
Have they been reached by DEP?
Think so. John, can you speak to that?
The community REAP team, the internal REAP team has done one.
What were the findings of that reach?
I don't have it in front of me, I can get that to board secretary, I don't have it in front of me, I dare not say.
I'm going to request that we give it to the entire board.
I will say there were concerns around racial equity when it comes to transportation, there's no doubt about that. So we'll provide that, but I want to be clear, there are issues. That's one of the things we put in when you look at option 1 or 2. There are equity issues involved in this.
I think this district has made the commitment that we would move forward with any measure without it positively passing the REAP process. And so even if there are complications or concerns around racial equity, if there are concerns around racial equity, that means we need to be more creative with our approach. But I want to say openly in a full-throated way, we don't need to move forward with any options that has concerns around racial equity that undermine our commitment as a district. You said that you're meeting with Metro, going before council on Thursday. It seems to me that there ought to be a more intimate meeting with Metro government. Can that be coordinated?
I'm sure we can have that arranged, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that Mayor Greenberg and our friends on the council would love to help us work through our tremendous challenges of transportation. I've talked to several of them, including the mayor, who has been willing and ready to help in any way that he can. So I would encourage, it's fine to go in front of the council, but I think we need to ask for a closed door meeting with federal government to see how they can partner with us. How will options 1 and 2 impact students who attend before and after school care with YMCA? So I know that there are some programs where a student attends the YMCA program in one school, but is transported to another school for the school day. How will that impact those students?
We're still working with the YMCA to determine under which option we choose, what that impact will be.
Okay. How many students will be impacted by option 1?
As far as like in the district,
Yes.
16,000 bus magnet students.
16,000 plus. They will be the only students impacted by option 1.
They would be the only students that would be ineligible for transportation.
So 16,000 students will be impacted. What is the demographic breakdown of those 16,000 students?
I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, are they free and reduced lunch students?
There will be free and reduced lunch.
Is that the bulk of that 16,000?
I think most of the data shows around 70% of our bus drivers are, and I don't want to be quoted on that exact percentage, but in the neighborhood of that are free and reduced lunch students. So we have to know that a good number of them are, yes. And we can have that exact data for you. And just to clarify, it's 20, right at 20 schools of the amount of schools impacted by transportation.
Thank you. How are we including, and this may be a question for Dr. DeFlori, how are we including parents in correcting student behavior on buses?
That would be, Matt?
those would be our.
Come on up. Come on up, you gotta be on the mic. It's a good thing you attended tonight.
So we have staff that are regularly reporting to the compounds to get our referral data from our bus drivers. That goes in to our campus system, which gets delivered to school administrators. So from there, school administrators are in charge of all of the due process related to that and any follow-up that should occur with that family.
Okay. So let me ask you in a simpler fashion. When students misbehave on buses, are they put off the bus and do their parents have to take them to school?
Yes, in some situations that does occur. We have bus suspensions as a part of our handbook. That is an option that is explored and utilized by our administrators. And in those situations, parents are required to transport the students.
Okay. Are we seeing that process being used
Yes.
in an effective manner?
Yeah, and we also have an option for extended bus suspensions for some of our more serious safety events.
Okay. Do we have a ballpark number of how many students that's impacted?
I don't want to misspeak, but we can get that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
We got roughly 30% of the actions taken are removals from the bus or school.
Okay.
So meaning they're suspended from school or they're suspended from the bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we can provide that data to you. We have
Notice,
referral data that we
they'll
track
kick the kids out of school and off the
regularly.
buses, but the pedal teacher's still on payroll.
I'm greatly
Make it make
concerned
sense.
about the impact that our delayed decision
Make it
making
make sense.
related to transportation, the impact that that's having on student assignment. So are adjustments being made to accommodate families who are waiting on our decision making related to transportation before they can make a decision about their student attending school, where their student attends school?
It will be similar to what we did last year, which was provide all families an opportunity. Well, they always have the opportunity to go to different sides if that's what they want to do, but then to also extend what we did last year,
Because they don't care about our kids, that's why.
We had thousands of requests for transfers after we passed, as you recall, the change in start times in about mid-March as well. And so we extended that to give families opportunity to.
She's got a really good speech written out. I don't want to, she's kind of nervous. I don't want her to add it up. It's powerful, trust me.
Mr. Dobbs, how are you? Would you please come to the microphone? How are you today?
I'm just fine.
What do you need from this board to ensure that students are not negatively impacted by transportation challenges and that students are not missing out on instructional time because of transportation delays? What do you need us to do?
To choose an option that puts us where we're equal with the number of drivers that we have reporting to work every day.
Okay. And in your mind, that would be option one?
If you're at, yes, that would be option one, unfortunately.
Okay. Anything else you want us to know?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your work you're going to do with this district. We appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Falk, for this presentation. Thank you, Chief Callahan. Before we end this presentation and take the vote, I think it is to be noted that Dr. Amy Green Webb has been working very, very, very hard to recruit bus drivers. And while she's been working so hard, she has been recognized nationally for her work in human resources. She received the Distinguished Service Award at the Council of Great City Schools Chief Human Resources Officer's meeting here in Louisville, Kentucky. Congratulations, Dr. Amy Green Wells.
She was surprised, we all surprised her.
Can I just one clarifying thing about when we're getting information on the options, do we also have a read of option 3, which is essentially what we're doing now, so we know what the baseline is that we're comparing things to? That'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a motion to receive an update on transportation? Mr. Craig? Oh, I'm sorry.
I have 3 more things I would.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have 3 more things. We can't take the vote.
This is my misconception.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Because they slow.
If we're able to, have shortened, more regionalized routes, can we assume and assure families that buses will be at the school at this visit?
If we are on the right side of drivers and routes, yes, we can assure that. I mean, within reason, there's always gonna be some lag depending on what traffic may be. But if we are in a situation where we have drivers in excess of the daily routes that we run on a daily basis, then yes, we will be on time.
And I'll say this, we won't fall into the same thing we did last year, which is if we are shorter bus drivers than we are routes, we will be very clear going into it that this is going to mean delays on the front end or the back end. There's just no other way around it. So that's our purpose, is to make sure you know that.
I wanted to ask if we are able to have more regionalized service. Well, schools have fewer buses here. Some of my schools have, 50 buses here.
That would be a likely outcome of more regionalized service, yes.
How about the bus compounds that would follow along with having fewer buses?
It would go back to the charge of the routing team, goal number 1 being on-time service, second to that, but almost as important goals is shorter routes for the drivers.
Okay, and then my last question, next year, can we hope and look forward to a more equal burden, equally shared burden of after-school supervision? Because right now, it is not equally shared in all of our schools.
In a scenario where we can guarantee on-time pickup and delivery, yes.
Those are the issues I know that we've had with this plan, what we're in presently, and why we can't keep what we're doing right now going on. We need to make changes for next year, and I just appreciate so much all of the work that you, and all the time you spent pulling all this information together for us. And I know we will do the best we can. We're not going to make everybody happy, but we will do what we can to make this feasible and deliver full days of instruction to our students. So that's what we need to do. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Is there a motion to receive the update on transportation? Ms. Craig, Ms. Duncan, all in favor? Ayes have it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Ms. Craig, Ms. Marshall, all in favor? Ayes have it. Thank you. Vice Chair Craig will now draw copies.
Item number 15 on bid ID 8306 for HVAC supplies and equipment goes to Mr. Jonas before, so bid ID number 8306, Progress Supply Inc. Progress Supply Inc.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Is there a motion to receive the planning calendar? Ms. Marshall, seconded by Dr. Cole, all in favor? Ayes have it. Thank you. Are there any committee reports? Ms. Craig?
Facilities Committee met last week, which means 2 to 3 times this year.
Dr. Cole, and his staff reading that report, and Ms. Marshall.
Thank you, Chair. Board members, be on the lookout for an email now that we have officially voted for our goals and guardrails. We will need to discuss how to communicate those with the community. And so I will be sending out the email soon. So please be on the lookout in your email inboxes for that information.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Are there any board reports? Dr. Cole?
Just want to say thanks to Dunn Elementary. I was able to participate in the Black History reading that they had last week and had a lot of fun with Ms. Drewley's fourth grade class. Really sharp, fun kids. So thank you for inviting me and having me there. And also a big thank you to Ms. Parr's kindergarten class at Klondike Elementary for making me a very nice board appreciation month gift of construction paper flowers. It's adorning my kitchen and really brightens up the place. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. Okay, we have several people who have requested to address the board. We've already played our video, so we can forego that, or we can have 3 minutes. When you get the bell sound, you are almost done. Reverend Eric French.
Good evening. Good evening to the superintendent, Dr. Polio, to the board chair, Dr. Scholl, and to the entire board. I stand on behalf of the Alpha Lambda chapter of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'm here to talk about Senate Bill 93. Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was founded on December 4th, 1906, making it the oldest African-American fraternity or sorority. In 1909, one of our founders, Eugene Kinkle Jones, decided to make Louisville, Kentucky his home. He came to teach at Central Colored High School, the only African-American high school in Louisville. While there, he got married, had a son, and founded our chapter. I believe he chose our city because he believed in the hope and promise of this city, even though it was segregated at the time. And I'm sure he would be amazed in this moment to look at an African-American superintendent and that there's a African-American female who is the principal of Central High School, who is sitting right behind me. He would also be horrified to know that in 2024, there are those who wish to take our Commonwealth back to the 1950s. Senate Bill 93, which would prohibit JCPS from expending resources or funds on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, tells our children that their uniqueness is somehow a threat. But I believe that the young man that spoke earlier from W.E.B. Du Bois proves that wrong. We had a homecoming king who stood here and said it made a difference in his life. This bill is not motivated by a desire to improve the learning experience of students, as claimed by their sponsors. This bill is motivated by fear and ignorance, an irrational fear of being replaced, and an ignorance of history and research. This bill is a part of a larger effort by the legislation to wage war on Louisville and democracy itself. And our children will be the victims of this war. Now, I know that I'm preaching to the choir, that you all believe in DEI, and that we should be addressing the legislator directly and not you. I agree, and we will. But they will not listen to a single voice. We need to bring a mass choir to them. One voice won't work. So that's why we're here tonight, to encourage the school board to join the choir and raise their voices in opposition to these bills. We believe that diversity and equity makes a difference in the lives of everyone. And we are standing with the board and hoping that you will stand in opposition to this. A lot of people are telling us they have a supermajority, and there's nothing you can do about a supermajority. It isn't always about winning the fight. Sometimes it's just about the fight. And we just believe that silence isn't a strategy. Silence is betrayal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Reverend French. Francis
afraid the answer to your question is 32. There's 32 magnet schools that will get that if option 1 is opted in. And that, of course, encompasses 16,000 students. Male, Manual, Butler, Barrett, JCTMS, Johnson are comprised of mostly bus students. These schools are not assigned as a homeschool to anyone. If transportation is removed, who will attend these schools and what schools can absorb 16,000 students? Magnet and traditional programs have specific tracks. For example, those students that we seen today from Central, they start those tracks beginning in freshman and sophomore year. If we tell them that next year you're not going to receive transportation, what happens to their educational credits? What happens to their path to graduation? Is there counseling plan for students who will be ripped from their senior year in high school? We just heard from a student who's already told you as a senior, he's not prepared to be told that that is no longer his path. Has KHSAA agreed to grant immediate eligibility to the thousands of kids who by rule would no longer be eligible to play sports because they have changed schools? In addition to this, has agreements been made with KHSAA to immediately reclassify all sports that male enrollments define class, schools such as Male, Manual, Central? Without blurring the lines of discrimination by choosing to only provide transportation to one magnet over another, example W, Du Bois, or bypass, or singling out free and reduced lunch, I believe a very viable solution is to work this in a rollout approach. We know that something has to be done. There is no question about that. But doing a fear approach is not the best way to do so. There is no doubt that some action has to be taken. I believe that one equitable solution is to start in a restructuring path, starting at a lower K-5 level. As stated, there's 32 magnet schools, 11 of those being elementary, middle, magnet and traditional schools. Some of these school students are bused from as far as Eastwood and Mr. Craig's division all the way to downtown. That is a lot of resources that are put into busing children at the elementary level who have not yet decided their career paths in life. Prime example, a couple of years ago, we lived 2 blocks from Wilder Elementary. My son was assigned to Zachary Taylor. Wilder Elementary, I could walk him to school, I could drive him to school. Zachary Taylor, I could not. I think, and I appreciate the job that you all have before you all, but I think that taking just the general presentation of option 1 is a dire mistake. We have students in the middle school and high school that need to be considered who have already started their path to development in regards to what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Christopher Brown.
Good evening. I'm Christopher Brown. I'm a teacher at Central High School. And I want to say thank you to the board. I know that's kind of weird to say, but I'm a JCPS product. I'm a JCPS product of magnet schools, all on the West End. And I'm also a magnet school teacher. I offer that unique perspective that maybe not many people have. One of the things I want to talk about tonight is what you've heard already. There's going to be a loss of students. A few weeks ago, we had Reggie, our robot dog, in here that we heavily invested in. And a lot of those kids that were here with us are going to be unable to attend Central High School next year. I find that very disheartening. It's sad. The other problem I have with this is the lack of opportunity for transition readiness. We're working very hard right now with our juniors and seniors to get them ready for the next level. And I feel like they're going to be incomplete pathway people. And that's going to translate to the next school. There's a loss of opportunity there. And finally, with all these logistics, have we thought about the teachers? There's also a teacher shortage going on. Many teachers are going to hear this thing and they're going to see these recommendations and they're going to have to ask themselves, do I have a spot next year? Am I going to be overstaffed? Because if you take a large number of kids out of a school, we're going to have to deal with overstaffing. And what do we do with those teachers? Where do they go? And they have to make a decision very soon. Are they going to transfer or are they going to see what happens? And that's a very viable option. And especially a lot of new teachers, because those are the ones who are overstaffed. We can't keep losing teachers. We have to value them. And these types of things where a teacher like myself, who's been at Central now for 16 years, I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not leaving the profession. but a lot of younger people are. We got to keep them with us because we got to continue this fight. And I will fight with JCPS to the depths and applaud everything that we do because we do great things. And we do those with a ton of criticism. And we show up every day and we keep going and we keep going and we keep going. I appreciate your time, and again, I appreciate what you did for me.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and thank you for your service to the district. Ellen Nehoff.
All right. Good evening. I'm Ellen Nehoff, and I've been with JCPS since 1989. Went to Corage Taylor, then I went to Mazika Manual, and returned to JCPS in 2004 at Central High School, where I've been blessed to teach now for 2 decades. Many cultural phenomena have happened in the 35 years I've been JCPS, but Tracy Chapman's Fast Car keeps circling around from when she first performed in '89 to a couple weeks ago. And the economic message of Fast Car hits home for the working class folk in Jefferson County. You got a fast car? I want to take it to anywhere. Maybe we can make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I've got nothing to prove. I've seen how magnet schools have impacted people. My best friend graduated with me from Manual High School in 1998. He was able to apply to it on his own. I was on a track to get to Manual MST through Mazika. Chris, he went to TJ. He was on a trajectory to go to Seneca. He did go to Manual, graduated, went to UK, got his teaching degree, and graduated with a master's degree from Stanford. Magnets do work. My oldest son, Chris Matos, who I got guardianship of when he was a student at Central, benefited from our magnet program, and it was his ticket to anywhere. He attended TJ and was also set to go to Seneca, but he went the magnet route. At Central, he was a part of our STEM program, went on to JCTC, the KY Fame program, graduated from there, and is now on a full scholarship to the Speed School at University of Louisville. Magnet schools were his ticket to anywhere. I can only speak of what I know, and that is Central High School. I am biased, but I truly believe we have the best students in JCPS, all of which apply to come to Central. They apply to Central because they know it is their ticket to anywhere, and with the supports and structures of Central, that we can get them somewhere. 80.6% of our kids are economically disadvantaged. 5.5% are white. Our demographics, both racially and economic, are at a disadvantage in the flawed capitalist system we have here in America. However, the education and acceptance our students receive at Central give them an advantage. We are that ticket. At Central, our students are truly getting somewhere. You take away busing to magnet schools and you take away this ticket. Our most vulnerable students do not have reliable access to transportation to get them to school, to a busing hub, whether it's 3 or 5. TARC is not a viable option. At the minimum, and I mean the bare minimum, free and reduced students should be provided transportation. Magnet schools in our district are these tickets to anywhere. Let's be honest, we are starting from zero and have nothing to lose. We need to be bold in our take on this. And I'm simply a teacher advocating for my students. And I do have something to prove. Our students at Central High School need to be bused. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nehoff, and thank you for your service to our district. Amina Shale.
Can you guys hear me? Hi, my name is Amina Shell, and I am an alumni of Seneca High School class of 2015. And I am here to represent multilingual learners from my perspective. With all of the changes that JCPS has had, my community, the Somali Bantu community, has not had, I would say, the same services that have been provided to that should be provided to all of JCPS students. JCPS prides itself on the values, well, 3 of their core values are equity, diversity, and opportunity. However, it has become increasingly and overwhelmingly, surprising from my, point of view, being someone that graduated almost 10 years ago, next year, the same struggles that I had as a multilingual learner still persist with the individuals from my community. And to my surprise, I'm still trying to figure out how is JCPS addressing these issues, and do you have advisors or ambassadors that go into these communities? Because the direction that is being taken right now, sending out text memos that they cannot read. My family, for example, my mother cannot read. So with a community that is 98% illiterate, sending out a text is not a message that they receive. I have talked to many people at JCPS, but I feel like this needs to be addressed at the board meetings, and something that you guys should really focus on, because right now, I'm an advocate for that community, but how many other communities don't have someone like me who is willing to stand up and say we need help, we need our voices heard? We've been voiceless for over 2 decades, and I feel like it's time for multilingual learners to be represented at JCPS.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Duncan, second by Mr. Craig, all in favor? Ayes have it, we are adjourned at 7:59 p.m. Dr. Cox?
Wait, you're on the list, right? We have a person that's on the list that has not been able to speak. She's on the list. So we would like to be able to have our 3 minutes as well, please. You're on the list, right? Huh? Yes, we got you. She called last week to get her name put on the list. That's the whole reason why we're here.
What is the name?
Speak up.
Alexis Crook.
Alexis who?
Crook, C-R-O-O-K.
Okay, I don't have you on my list. And,
Can she have her 3 minutes? She was on the list. That's the whole reason why we were here. We called last week to get her on the list.
you don't mind?
All right, thank you. Come on. Come on.
Now, before you speak,
Yes,
let
sir.
me be clear, you
We're
cannot
be-
speak about personnel. So,
Not directly.
Leave his name out.
I don't have any names in my speech. Just about an overarching issue. Okay.
You got this.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Dr. Alexis Crook, and I stand here with victims and parents of victims of JCPS staff and coaches. It's truly unfortunate that I have to speak on this tonight. However, I would be remiss if I continue to hear the stories of sexual abuse from the same employees and remain silent. So today I stand with a heavy heart, compelled to address a grave issue that strikes the core of our community's values. The systematic failure of JCPS to protect our innocent students from egregious misconduct of some JCPS staff and coaches. It's a disturbing reality that within our educational institutions, places meant to nurture and safeguard our children, there exists a culture of abuse and neglect. Time and time again, we have witnessed the appalling betrayal of trust as reports continue to surface of sexual misconduct perpetuated against minors in their care. What is even more alarming is the apparent disregard for the well-being of our children, as JCPS has repeatedly failed to take a decisive action to hold perpetrators accountable and prevent future harm. Instead of swift and transparent justice, we have seen a pattern of evasion and complacency. Rather than addressing the root causes of these heinous acts, the board has opted for the practice of transferring offending staff to different schools or administrative placements, effectively sweeping the issue under the rug and perpetuating the cycle of abuse, allowing these staff to pick their next victim. There should be no tolerance for rapists and pedophiles in our school system. There is no justification for the exploitation of our children. The safety and dignity of every student must be paramount. In this solemn duty of the board, and it is a solemn duty of this board to uphold the fundamental principle without compromise. As members of the community, we cannot stand by while our children's innocence is violated and their futures are jeopardized. We must demand accountability, transparency, and meaningful reform within our school system. We must insist on policies that prioritize the protection of all children above all else and ensure that those who betray our trust are swiftly and justly held accountable for their actions. Last summer, I was contacted by someone's daughter asking me about something that happened to me 2 decades ago. I could have never prepared myself for the things I would learn in a few short months. I've spoken to over 15 victims, all females that attended JCPS, some who wish to remain anonymous due to fear of retaliation, some who want their stories to be heard. I have heard stories that have broken my heart. I've had to watch young women relive the traumas and figure out how to move forward with life. I've seen parents struggle with their children being assaulted in the very institutions that are supposed to keep them safe. I've cried with other victims, struggled with my own emotions as a result of the trauma I experienced 20 years ago. 20 years is a very long time for the same predators to continue to have their pick of victims within the school. Moving staff to different schools or placements doesn't fix the problem. Myself and other victims have to deal with the trauma for the rest of our lives. We want nothing but justice to spark a culture of change where perpetrators are not employed at our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
We gonna talk about it, always. Y'all been covering this shit up too long. They tried it. They tried to not let her talk. Victims will always have a voice when I'm around. Promise you that. I wasn't worried what that happened. Y'all got me twisted. I go to jail for shit like that. They was gonna let her speak today. I can promise you that. I was grasped it straight up. I was like, oh no, we're not doing that. We're not gonna do that. That's what we're not gonna do. Any place I'm in, a victim's voice will always be heard. Oh. Yeah, my cigarettes. Yeah, that was very happy. What are you doing? There you go. You need that. Oh, you don't. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Summer. The lady said she knows who answered the phone and didn't put me on there.
Huh?
She came up to me and she said, I know who answered the phone and didn't put you on there.
Yeah, well, like I said, any space I'm in, they will never not hear a victim's voice. Because I'll go to jail over some shit like that. Because I know you was on there, and they playing games. That's what they like to do. They like to cover up for pedos.
She was like, did she have a thick accent? And I was like, yeah. She was like,
No, I want her name. Who said that to you?
The blonde lady.
The black dress?
No, the white girl. She's blonde up there. Yeah, she asked me, she's like, what number did you want to go to? She said, did she have a Spanish accent? I said, yeah. She was like, I know who it was.
We'll find out.
You know the guy that when we were walking in and we said something about JCPS protecting him, he was like, I know. Have you seen him?
Yeah, he's been in and
He
out.
wasn't one of them, was he?
No. He's a security guard. He's over.
Oh, but he knows. But he really works in
I mean, a lot, you know. That's why we got to keep bringing awareness. All right, you ready? Give me a hug. I'm very proud of you. I got away from something. We're gonna play today. And now with Big Sis here. Ain't happening. You too, baby. We're not gonna do that. No. You too.
Yes, it's gonna be down the hallway.
We ain't got on the list. Bullshit, she ain't on the list. I bet you she gonna appear on that list. I bet you. Thank you. I bet you we're not gonna leave till you hear what she gotta say, or I'm gonna leave in cuffs. That's what we gonna do. I'm trying to keep myself together because we got a lot more to do with this case. But that was lighter. I got you.
My car is right there. No, I need just if you walk my car.
Oh yeah, my car's back there. All right, well wait a second. Hold on.
So
They cut my fucking mic
so they
off.
knew
didn't
we
cut
were on the
nobody else's
list.
mic.
Yeah, they knew he was on. That's why I said no. We're not doing this. She gonna speak today.
She told me who did it.
She goes, yeah, it's a Spanish. I'm gonna get her name.
All the people just so happens her name.
Right, her name's not on the list. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, because they asked
I bet
me
you
what
it's
the
a
subject was, and I said staff misconduct.
right. Well, like I said, I bet you. That's why I said I bet she gets her 3 minutes today, baby. Or Summer Dickerson's gonna go off in this bitch, and we gonna go to jail. They know who I am. Trust me.
She was on the list. She's gonna speak.
They said,
Give her 3 minutes.
you can't talk about nothing.
I said she ain't ringing no names.
They know motherfucking names.
Shit, they know who the fuck I am. Trust me on that.
You too. You too. Be careful.
They be like, damn, this bitch is here.
I gave her mine.
Her and her loud ass fucking mouth.
I know. They.
So I left those papers laying on the table that have all the shit that we have
We
on
did
everybody.
good.
Wait, where'd Frederica go?
She just.
Frederica, I was gonna walk you. Okay.
You gotta figure out when to go to the bus. I mean, I gave her my letter, but I need that back. What's she playing?
I don't know. All right, you guys. I'm gonna log off here. We will be back in just a minute. I'm gonna do a ride home and we can chit chat. I'm gonna sit here and talk. I'm very proud of this beautiful lady right here.
Go ahead, Alexis.
They gonna try to say she ain't on the list. The hell she ain't. She is today.
Dr. Crook is on the list.
I bet you
Dr. Crook is on the list.
on the list.
Maybe not miss. Definitely not.
She said all right, y'all. I said she gonna talk. She gonna get her 3 minutes today. I promise you, she gonna get her 3 minutes today.
She said, who did you call? I said, Gay gave me the number. She said, did who answer my number have a heavy Spanish accent? I said, yeah, because she made me say the subject. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, I know who answered the phone. And I was like,
That's
and she
all
asked
right.
me for my name and
I'm gonna find out who that bitch is, and I'm gonna get her shit too. Watch. I bet you I file a complaint. Yeah, send me a number, and if we can find out who her, call up or just act like you're somebody's age and try to get her name. I'm gonna file a complaint on that bitch.
I don't know.
I knew I shouldn't have said
Is that
staff
littering?
misconduct.
You did good.
If we put the papers all on the front steps.
I mean,
If I just set them up there, is it littering?
you can. I mean,
Fuck it.
you do whatever you want.
At this point,
I mean, if they come tell us to pick up our trash, we fucking pick it up. Like, I mean, that ain't that serious. You mean pick it up, I'll fucking pick it up.
at least they hear us, you know.
Who's Herbert?
Herbert is the last name of the lady. I think it's like Julie Herbert or something.
Julie Herbert?
Yeah.
Is the lady?
God, like when I say
It was
my
somebody, I called her
anxiety
number,
was
and it
about
like somebody with a heavy accent that answered that I talked to. But that's the number. I think
She
Julie
said,
Herbert.
well, this is it for the agenda. I jumped straight up. I was like, oh, yeah, no, we're not.
I look back like,
We've been sitting in this bitch for
I done sat through y'all's bullshit all night for 2 hours. She gonna get her 3 minutes. I can promise you that.
You wanna go show them where we left the proof?
Yep. We got the name. Tara, we got the name, by the way. I'm gonna file a complaint. All they'll do is come out here and throw us away, but
Yeah,
they gonna look at it. I got it. I caught it. Here, Ashley, give me that one.
There's a list of story right there that was
Right.
shoved under the rug thanks to Mr. Mauer.
And give me that one too. I left mine underneath the seat. Good job, baby girl. Good job, good job, good job.
Alyssa, take me to my car.
girl, my car's over there. Done.
I'll take it.
All right, love y'all. Give me one more hug. Come here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for making sure we talk.
Yeah, definitely. Because we were just looking at each other
Big
like,
sis
I
got
got
y'all.
Amy looked at me and I said,
Look, I didn't hesitate at all. I said, boop.
she's gonna talk. She's
I said, she gonna talk. Give me my 3 minutes. Run it in before y'all know I know how to show my ass. So don't make me show my ass. All right, y'all. All right, I'm gonna end this live and then I'm gonna go live right back. If anybody wants to chit chat. Mark Herbert. It was you straight? All right, thanks for coming, girl.
Yeah,
Give me love.
Come on.
I know. I already know. We gonna come for the baby all the time. We always stand for the babies. All right, y'all. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Holler. He's the public information officer for JCPS. Okay, I'll be right back.